Meeples Top 10 Lightweight Games.
We've determined light to be below 2.0 on the BGG Weight scale.
Sushi Go comes in at number 10. This is a card set collection game where you are collecting different pieces of sushi as you draft cards around the table.
And that's an easy one to play with gamers and non-gamers alike. We play it with some of your family members that like, even Monopoly is a heavyweight game to them, so they can get that to the table, but there's still enough decision making for, it's fun for us for, I would say, a few rounds.
Yeah, and especially right after a meal, you can just pull it out while everyone's still sitting at the table.
Number 9 is Ticket to Ride, and the Ticket to Ride system. I'm holding up an expansion board and one of these first journey boards. On BGG, the USA map is below 2.0, and some maps go above, but I think that's the nice thing about the Ticket to Ride system is if you can get people into the system at a weight of below 2.0, they kind of learn it. Now you can kind of maybe start working your way up that scale a little bit with some more heavier expansion boards, or you can kind of go the other way with the first journey boards and some of the smaller boards that they now offer, like the New York board, for example.
Number 8 is Botnik. This is a 2-player only tile drafting game with a neat little mechanism on how you kick out the tiles, and you are building routes back to this plant machine based on color. So there's some interesting little nuances within how you get your tiles.
Yeah, we played that last night before we were filming this because we were like, do we still put this on the list? And I think this is almost like, if we do an underrated game, this should be on the list. It's a great little small box game, and you're just going back and forth. The rules are very light, but you're just like, you have to kind of map everything out, and it's very interactive because I don't want to give her tiles and she doesn't want to give them to me. Number 7 is Land versus Sea. This is another tile laying game where one person is land, one person is sea, and you're trying to match, either if you're sea, you're trying to match all the sea pieces, score points in between. Great game, and it comes with a couple of little variants, so if you want to up the weight and you want to up the difficulty, you can, because it comes with a base mode, but then there's 2 little kind of like mini expansions you can also play to kind of heft out the game.
The neat part of this one is you score points even if somebody else closes your section, so you all kind of playing off the other player and trying to stay away from their sections and really building out your own.
Yeah, interactive again.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of these 2-player light games are probably more interactive than some of these heavier Euros these days, where you're almost doing multiplayer solitaire. Pretty much everything so far on this list, maybe save a little bit of Ticket to Ride, has been pretty interactive and you're paying attention to what somebody else is doing.
Yeah, so it keeps you, even though it's light, it's keeping your tones, you're not having much dead time.
But maybe that's a sweet spot for light for us.
Yeah.
I don't know. So now we'll see as we keep going through the list.
Number 6 is I'm in Tep Duel. This is a really interactive game where you are kind of bidding on things and the other player may snatch something that you really need, and then they can break apart some of your scoring opportunities just in a flash. So again, interactive.
Number 5, Point Salad, our second copy, because we're going to give this as a gift. The other copy's sitting in our classroom. This is a game that goes up to 6 players, but also plays well at a lower player count, and you're just collecting a number of different vegetables. This, again, is another interactive game. If I'm collecting, let's say, peppers, I don't want her stealing all the peppers on me, and vice versa. If she has tomatoes, I'm grabbing those. So I'm paying attention to what everybody at the table's doing.
It's one that we've gotten to the table with all family, friends. I even get students to play this game. So it's flexible, and also the way you score, as it's called Point Salad, there are so many different ways to score points in the game that really keep you on your toes. Number 4 is Azul. This game allows you to interact. Again, you are drafting different tiles, and you're going to be watching what the other player needs to make sure that you're not allowing them to finish off rows to score, and it has gorgeous table presence. So really, the box, the game, the components can get it to the table, but it is so simple to teach somebody. You literally play the first round, and everybody at the table knows what they're doing.
This is a great gift game too, because you can find this anywhere, Walmart, Target, Barnes & Noble, whatever. But it also has such a great table presence and those chunky bits. People don't really get hobby board gaming. They usually see it's like you paid X for a bunch of cardboard. Here you actually have a little bit of heft and substance to it. One thing with this game I find from an interactive standpoint is when I try to pay attention too much to what you're doing, I just blow myself up. So I think I've gotten to the point where I pay a little bit of attention, but I don't want to like completely deviate from what I'm trying to accomplish, because I just implode. But that could just be me.
And let's be honest, a lot of times I play games, I'm not necessarily the winner. I try to pay attention to both.
Well,
but
we have to restart if you're not. So usually at the end you are.
Oh, he's actually talking about himself in this instance.
See?
All
See
right,
what she tried to do
moving
there?
along.
Number 3 is Cascadia. I think this was the Spiel des Jahres game of the year. I could be wrong on that, so you can correct me in the comments if I am. Another small interactive game. It also has some good table presence, these hefty wooden bits that you're kind of moving around, kind of building out your terrain and your animals, and you're doing set collection. One nice thing I like about this game is it has like this little campaign mode where you're just kind of like, once you've passed a level, you can kind of keep going. So there's like interactivity inside the box, and it's a good game that can play 2 to 4.
Yeah, and the other awesome part I like are the different goals that you're accomplishing. So every game's gonna play differently based on what the goals are that come out that game. Number 2 is the original Biblios. Now this is a game that we've had in our collection for ages, and it still hits the table. You are drafting cards, using dice, manipulating the dice because they're going to allow you to score points based on whatever the value is on the die. And there's 2 different rounds. You can buy codes in that second round based on the codes you drafted in the first round. So I would say it's probably a little bit more complex than a lot of the other games to teach somebody that first game, but then it flows really easily.
Yeah, I would still say it's not that complex once you've played it once.
Yes.
And that's another game that's very interactive, and this is kind of unique, at least looking around what we have on the table with the 2 different phases, where you're kind of like, the first phase you're kind of collecting money and you're like loading up to bid in that second phase to try to manipulate dice and score more points. So it's a game with 2 distinct phases. It can also play well 2 to 4. Number 1 is Patchwork. This is like high on almost all our lists, right? If we're going to do a small box list, top 10 game list, whatever. Patchwork is one of our faves. So we've played this over 70 times. We have 2 editions of it. I don't know if you need more than one because it's just different art. But this is just a game where you're collecting buttons, you have income, you have to worry about a little bit of math, a little bit of polynomial placement, and you're moving around the board. So it's still light. I think you want to play it that first time to just kind of get your head wrapped around it, and then it's an easy teach.
It is fabulous. If you are looking for a 2-player game that plays quick, doesn't overstay its welcome, and is just fun, that's the perfect game.
So that's our top 10 light games. Let us know what yours are in the comments.